Hello guys, this is another Beatles fan, and today we have my quick review of a new Paul McCartney release. We always love that. And I'm drinking some coffee here, so excuse me. This is Paul McCartney's and Wings, of course. One hand clapping. It's it's been 50 years that the fans are waiting for its release, and it's finally here, the official release. Of course, a lot of things came out on the bootlegs and whatever, but it definitely is something new to me. I knew about one hand clapping. I'd heard there were some songs that came out in some archive collections, like the McCartney archive, the Band on the Run, and Venus and Mars, I believe. The three of them had some of the one hand clapping sessions, but now everything's remixed by Giles Martin. And oh man, I just gotta say, to sum up, if you wanna hear about my opinion and leave, please don't do that. But to sum up, I think Paul's the greatest musical genius of our time, and it's incredible that this hasn't been available before. Basically, I can't have enough of Paul. I'm pretty sure you guys also can't have enough of Paul, especially on his prime, right? This is 1974. Paul is basically destroying on bass, on vocals, and I wasn't too excited about this, I gotta be honest. It was announced, I was glad that it was coming out. I don't know why, I just thought that it would be maybe too similar to Wings Over America, a rock show, of course. And it's the same band, right? It's the Wings Mark II formation, but of course we have Jeff Britton on drums instead of Joe English. And I didn't know much about Jeff Britton. He's appeared, he hasn't appeared on a ton of studio recordings by Wings. He's been on the Junior's Farm single that was backed by Sally G, I believe. And I believe he was like on 3 Venus and Mars songs. Letting Go, Loving Song maybe, I'm not sure, but I forgot a research about this, I gotta be honest. But for some reason, and again, I should have researched that, so I'm sorry about that. But Jeff Britton left Wings, and then Joe English came along, and Joe was great. And of course, Paul did the Wings Over America and Wings Over the World tour, and I love it. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, Wings Over America. I love the mixing. I love that the bass is huge and fat, and the instrumentation is incredible. The band was in top performance, so I guess that's why I wasn't too excited about this. I thought it was gonna be Wings all over again, Wings Over America all over again, but it's not. It's extremely different, and by that I mean the arrangements, the sound, the mixing. It sounds less rocky, more poppy, but at the same time, it still hits really hard. I feel like Jeff Britton on drums, I get the impression that he's a bit of a heavier hitter than Joe English. I think Joe was really good, and of course they were, at the time of Wings Over America, they were super rehearsed. So Joe, I believe that his drum line sounded more intricate and more complex, while Jeff Britton has a bit of a raw energy behind it that sounded different to me. Like on the second track of the album, I could feel like, yeah, there's totally something different on drums, even though I don't know exactly what it is. Well, we have synths, a lot of synths. Jet is really synthy, not at all that hard-hitting rock with almost a sub bass, right? A synth, a bassy synth line. Now the synth line is more is more prominent on Jet and on every song basically, most of the tracks anyway. And the bass is also, as I mentioned, I love the hard hitting bass on Wings Over America. The bass here sounds maybe a tad bit too light for me. I wanted it to have a little bit more punch just because Paul's the bassist and I love Paul on bass. Of course, we all do, right? Linda's playing great on this, I think. Everything for every song that I truly knew that Linda was playing the synths, the keyboards, right? I felt like she was doing a great job. She got criticism in the beginning of Wings for her keyboard skills, even from the guitarist, right? I forgot his first name. Oh man, but McCulloch, not Gene McCulloch, Henry McCulloch. I'm sorry. The guitarist from Wildlife. I'm sorry, not Wildlife. The guitarist from Red Rose Speedway. That's it. He didn't play on Wildlife. And yeah, so that's it. I loved it. It's definitely an album that I gotta have on my collection now. And I'm sorry, but Paul, you can't do that to me, man. I just spent too much money on you, man. But this one's a banger, a certified banger. It's got a lot of moments where Paul is going solo. There's the hard hitting moments. There's the classics, of course, especially the Man on the Run songs. They're super classic. And I wanted to mention a couple of songs here really quickly before we wrap this up. Soily, it's got a 4K video. The video is super cool. I wanted one hand clapping on video, so please, Paul, do release it on video too. Maybe a Blu-ray release. And I was never too much into Soily on Wings Over America. I believe it's the closing track, and it was fine. I didn't care too much for it. I much rather prefer this version of Soily. Just sounds much better to me. I don't know exactly why. Sea Moon has a totally different vibe from the studio recording, from Paul live performances without rings, right, on the 2000s. I loved Sea Moon live at Amoeba, the Amoeba gig. This one is super different. It's kind of scratches a different itch, even though it's the same song. There's a little bit of a piano medley it's cut. I believe Paul played it as a piano melody. They kind of cut it here, but it's Let's Love All of You and I'll Give You a Ring, a nice break, and it's Paul solo on piano. I think I'll Give You a Ring it's an incredible song, and it's super cool seeing that Paul had the arrangement on his mind, and when he recorded it in 81, 82 for Tug of War, it sounds like exactly the same song. So he didn't change a thing because he knew that what he had was great, and it's an underrated song. 1985, we have Paul and piano by himself, and man, it just sounds great. It's killer. Vocals are killer. The piano, we can hear everything that Paul does. I believe it's maybe my favorite piano line by him, and it in the middle of the song where it breaks down with those harmonies, it kind of cuts to a version where Paul's playing the piano and singing live, but there's the studio instrumentation backing him up as well, the same one on the album. I just don't like it. I think it sounded so incredibly different, and I wish they'd kept it like just Paul and the piano, right? But they didn't do that anyway. Blue Moon of Kentucky. Paul loves to sing that one. I've heard Paul on the sound check last year, and he did sing that. I believe it's Danny Lane on the harmonica, and it sounds great. I love a good blues harmonica. Power cut. It's always good to see a deep cut, and it's Paul just noodling it, and it's a deep cut from Red Rose Speedway, so it's great to see Paul playing it live. Not necessarily live, but on a live studio. And Junior's Farm, it's a banger. Again, the band formation, the band was so tight, so well rehearsed at that time, and this one does show. Junior's Farm, okay, that's the one I just mentioned. Sally G, I love Sally G. It's it's again an underrated song and a great deep cut. And again, Paul and piano solo sounds delightful as well. And right next to it, we have Tomorrow. It's one of my favorite underrated Paul McCartney songs. I'd say it's one of my favorite. It's one of my dad's favorite Paul McCartney songs, and I believe that Paul's father-in-law, John Eastman, loved it, and he asked Paul to do it again, but a bit slower. So that's what he did. Again, Paul on the piano sounds great, and so we can wrap up because it's been 10 minutes. Wildlife. Again, another underrated track. So at the end here, he throws some different songs into the mix. Paul's vocals are killer on here, on the studio recording, and there's the backing vocals, Danny and Linda. They sound incredible together. There's a different ending to the song, a different arrangement at the end that I hadn't heard before, and it's got some beautiful harmonies, the three of them together, and it's just a great, I believe it's a closer to the album. No, Hi 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 is a closer, but it's a great way to wrap it up anyways. And yeah, that's One Hand Clapping. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna buy it when I go to the US. I'm gonna go next month on July. Please do let me know what you guys think. Again, Paul's a genius. Thank you so much, Paul, for being here, still with us. And yeah, release stuff from your catalog, man. There's plenty of great things in Paul's files, I'm sure, that we haven't seen before. So it's always great to hear some Paul stuff from the first time, right? Anyway, I'll see you later. Thank you so much.